They forgot what humanity was capable of, and that was their mistake. One abandoned sector, one ultimatum, and the entire galaxy trembled at the words, "Return the prisoners or burn." But behind the rescue was something far greater, a girl who had become evolution itself. She didn't destroy, she rewrote the rules. Not a weapon, but what comes next. Stay with us if you want to find out how the story ends, and don't forget to subscribe. The stars above Sector 977 flickered like cold, distant eyes, unblinking, unfeeling. This region of space had been undisturbed for decades, kept silent under the iron grip of the Zinthri Dominion, one of the Galactic Empire's most ruthless enforcement arms. No ship entered without permission. No species lingered without consequence. Order had ruled here with clinical precision. Until today. A shape arrived, casting its silhouette between the twin moons of the sector. Metallic. Immense. Silent. It didn't announce itself. It didn't need to. Captain Vayer of the Dominion fleet stood frozen on the bridge of his flagship, the Axe of Dominion, staring at the impossible. For eyes wide, mandibles twitching in disbelief, he focused on the holographic projection flickering before him. "Run it again," he ordered. His voice was a rasp beneath rising panic. The scan repeated. Same result. Human warship. Siege carrier class. Earthforge Mark 9. That name hit the bridge like a thunderclap. "They don't belong here," whispered the comms officer. "They're not allowed here." Vayer didn't respond. He activated the emergency command relay with a slam of his claw. "Alert the Empire. Priority 1. Reroute all patrols. Lock the system down. Now." On board the Earthforge Mark 9, the mood was disturbingly relaxed. Commander Riker Graves leaned back in his command chair, boots crossed casually on the edge of a steel console. In one hand, he held a chipped black mug. The faded Terran Defense logo on its side had seen better centuries. He watched the Dominion broadcasts unfold, intercepted and decoded in real time. Their panic amused him. "They're scared already," he murmured. Beside him, Lieutenant Sanaa and Dari monitored the Dominion channels with quiet efficiency. "They've scrambled half their local net," Sanaa said. "Cruisers are repositioning. They think we're alone." Riker cracked his neck and stepped toward the viewport. Space stretched before them, dark and infinite. But behind the stars, fear was blooming. "I didn't come here to hide," he said quietly. "I came here to remind them why they signed the treaty." Sanaa glanced up. "You really think it's time?" Riker didn't answer. He didn't need to. For too long, they've looked at our silence and mistaken it for weakness. It's time to remind them what humanity really is. Back on the Dominion flagship, the tension had escalated into chaos. 6 destroyers and 2 cruisers were already moving into assault positions. Like wolves surrounding prey. Vayer's claws clicked against the console as he leaned into the transmitter. "This is Sector 977. You are trespassing on Galactic Empire territory. Identify yourself. You have 60 seconds to comply, or we open fire." Riker raised an eyebrow when the message played. "Still giving countdowns," he muttered. "As if that ever stopped us." "Should we respond?" Sanaa asked. Riker shook his head. "No. Let him sweat." The Earthforge began to move, slow, steady, deliberate. Not aggressive. Just confident. On the Dominion bridge, panic escalated. "Sir, it's not alone," shouted one of the officers. "New signatures, multiple. Decloaking." From behind the Earthforge, shadows peeled into existence, 7 stealth frigates, sleek and menacing. They'd been there all along. Watching. Waiting. "The humans had never come alone," whispered another. "They just made you think they did." Vayer's blood chilled. "Prepare for engagement," he shrieked. But he knew it was already too late. Inside the Earthforge, energy pulsed quietly through the hull like a heartbeat before the hunt. Riker stood in the center of the bridge, arms folded, watching the Dominion ship scramble on the tactical map. "They still think we're just one ship," he said. "Frigates are jamming their scans," Sanaa confirmed. "They're blind." Riker smiled. "Good. Fear hits harder when it's slow." Then, without fanfare, a blue flicker split the darkness, and a Dominion destroyer disappeared. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. On the Dominion bridge, silence. "Sir, we've lost contact with the Varii blade. No weapons discharge detected." "They're cloaked," another voice whispered. "We didn't see it coming." Vayer trembled. This wasn't just military action. This was psychological warfare, executed with surgical precision. On the Earthforge, Riker calmly gave the next order. "Send a message." Sanaa nodded, fingers hovering over the console. "What should I say?" Riker didn't look up. He spoke 5 words. "Return the prisoners or burn." The message transmitted on every open Dominion channel, unencrypted, raw, deliberate. The words echoed across warships and command posts like a death bell from the past. "Prisoners," muttered Var, Vayer's second in command. "What prisoners?" No one answered. Somewhere in the layers of Dominion secrecy, someone had taken something they shouldn't have. And now Riker Graves had come to collect. "Tell command," Vayer growled. "Tell them, we need answers. Fast." A second Dominion ship vanished, as silently as the first. No light. No fire. Just void. And that's when the Dominion realized this wasn't a battle. This was the beginning of an extinction protocol. The Earthforge Mark 9 drifted closer to the asteroid, now revealed as Black Cell 12, cloaked frigates encircling it like wolves. No banners. No negotiations. No mercy. In the drop bay, silence reigned as 9 armored figures stood ready. Their matte black suits bore no insignia, only scars. These weren't soldiers. They were revenants from Earth's ghost divisions. Commander Riker Graves adjusted the seal on his helmet, the burnt corner of an old unit patch barely visible on his shoulder. He scanned the team. Sana was already checking her twin pulse blades. Dari loaded a coil of miniature breaching charges with the ritual calm of a seasoned operator. No words were spoken. They trained for this in the dark, for years, for ghosts only. Objective is extraction, Riker said, voice crackling over tight band comms. We get our people out. If the Dominion gets in the way. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Sana looked up. Let's remind them who they tried to forget. The drop bay opened with a low hiss. One by one, the squad fell into the black, no propulsion, just momentum and gravity. They descended toward the surface of the asteroid like judgment. The maintenance port was old, forgotten. Dominion security had been confident in its cloak. But human tech had evolved since they last crossed weapons. The override protocol sliced through encrypted locks like warm steel through ice. Inside, Black Cell 12 was clinical in its horror. Smooth, black walls without labels. Hallways that absorbed light. The facility hadn't been built for visibility, it had been built for silence. Riker raised his hand. Thermal. Decker's voice came low. 3 floors below. Multiple signatures. Stationary. Suppressed vitals. Definitely containment. Then we're late. They moved with lethal purpose. Guards were encountered and removed, one by a silenced pistol to the skull, another by Sana's blade through the ribs. The team left no traces. Only blood, evaporating quickly under internal heat protocols. Then they found the labs. Fluid-filled tanks with scattered bone fragments. Terminals that still ran blood work. Alien symbols overlaid by Terran translation algorithms. Neural pruning. Memory decoupling. Subject non-responsive. In one corner, a table still held a human ribcage, cracked open like a clam. They weren't experimenting, Dari muttered. They were dissecting. No one answered. There was nothing to say. At last, the cell block. 5 containment pods. 2 were empty. 1 held a charred corpse. The 4th contained a man, hollow-eyed, emaciated. Still alive. The 5th. A girl. No older than 12. Barefoot. Knees pulled to her chest. Eyes wide. Silent. Target confirmed, Sana said. She moved to the panel. Overriding the lock. Then the alarm sounded. Klaxons echoed down the halls like the screams of metal beasts. Red lights flared. Dominion voices shouted in Zenthri tongue. Automated turrets dropped from the ceilings. They know, Riker said. Sana knelt by the girl. We're here to get you out. The child looked her straight in the eye. You're not like them. No, Sana replied. I'm worse. Riker turned to the man in the 4th cell. Name. The man coughed, barely audible. Elias Hart. Doctor. Terran intelligence. Riker's head snapped toward him. The name was familiar. Rumors said Hart had died during the early phases of Project Nova. If he'd been here. Decker, get him moving. Now. A blast rocked the corridor. Contacts inbound. Dari shouted. Riker took point. His rifle coughed twice, 2 Dominion guards collapsed. A 3rd lunged. Riker dropped him with a round straight through the throat. Fall back to the vent shaft, he ordered. The team moved fast, Decker half carrying Hart. Sana shielded the child, who clung to her arm with silent defiance. At the vent, Sana placed a breaching puck. Charge primed. Frigates ready? Cloaked and waiting, Decker confirmed. The charge blew. The floor opened to vacuum. Stars beckoned. One by one, they jumped. Sana and the girl first. Decker and Hart. Riker last, diving feet first through the opening as plasma fire screamed past his armor. As they cleared the asteroid's surface, a cloaked frigate decloaked just long enough to fire. A blue lance of plasma tore through the Dominion pursuit, vaporizing half a squad. The Earthforge descended like a titan, underside glowing, weapons hot. Extraction complete, the voice in Riker's comms confirmed. The team was pulled aboard, magnetic clamps locking them into safety. Inside, silence returned. But it was no longer peace. It was the silence before truth. Riker turned to Hart. What the hell were they building? Hart didn't speak immediately. His eyes drifted to the girl. Not what? Who? She sat on a bench in the med bay, blanket draped over her shoulders, feet dangling. She didn't move, didn't cry, didn't blink. Riker stepped forward, slow. What's her name? Eva, Hart whispered. Prototype 5. The last product of Project Nova. Riker frowned. I thought Nova was shut down. It was, Hart replied. Because all the other prototypes failed. They burned out, broke down. But she adapted. Sana pulled up the scan data. Her vitals are insane. Brain activity is quantum patterned. She's mimicking Dominion encrypted signals. It's like her mind is, learning their language from memory. She doesn't just survive environments, Hart said. She evolves with them. Physically, mentally, even neurologically. Riker knelt in front of her. Eva. She looked at him. Calm. Studying. Do you know who I am? She nodded. Commander Graves. Ghost Unit. You don't trust Easy. His voice faltered. How do you know that? You think loud, she said quietly. Heart exhaled. She reads emotional bleed. Micro-expressions. Not psychic, just overwhelming in pattern recognition. Riker stared at her. Do you want to go home? There is no home, Eva said softly. Only what comes next. He swallowed hard. What did they do to you down there? They tried to understand me, she whispered. Sanaa stepped closer. And what did you do? Eva looked out the viewport. I made sure they couldn't. Riker's stomach turned. How? I changed the code. He stood. What code? She looked him in the eyes. Their ships. Their communications. Their AI. Heart paled. You mean the destroyers? I told them to shut off, Eva said. Silence fell like a curtain. Riker whispered, she's not a weapon. No, Hart replied, hollow. She's worse. Eva didn't flinch. Didn't smirk. She simply said, what comes next? Far above Sector 977, deep within the command halls of the Galactic Empire, fear took root. The High Council chamber, once a bastion of composure and cold ambition, now rippled with unease. Stone-faced strategists and lacquered armored warlords exchanged glances that betrayed uncertainty. Holograms flickered across the chamber floor. Earthforge Mark 9, fully powered, holding position just outside Dominion-controlled space. A secondary feed displayed Black Cell 12, destroyed. Its stealth systems offline. Every Dominion asset there, neutralized or missing. But it was neither the warship nor the destruction that disturbed them most. It was the voice of a child. A transmission intercepted and replayed across classified military channels. 5 words, spoken with chilling clarity. I changed the code. High Imperator Threx Solari gripped the edge of the projection table, claws digging into polished alloy. His skin, usually a calm basalt gray, had paled to cracked slate. He had ruled for 30 cycles, survived 10 uprisings, 3 border wars, and countless covert operations. He had never heard a voice that made his hands shake. She rewrote our military command structure, said a Zenthri admiral in disbelief. Not hacked it. Not bypassed it. Rewrote it. Our override protocols don't respond. Another counselor added, no tools. No transmission rig. She learned our systems by being in the same room. Threx's voice came as a whisper, almost reverent. This isn't a child. No, muttered an elder bureaucrat. This is extinction, with a face. Silence lingered until Threx slammed a fist into the table. We created this, he hissed. We took her. We tortured her. And she rewrote us. He turned to his aide. If she reaches the Terran core, we lose the galaxy. Back aboard the Earthforge, the atmosphere had changed. Eva no longer sat on the medbay bench. She moved through the ship's corridors like someone memorizing a new home. Her fingers traced walls, consoles, plasma conduits, each contact a silent inquiry, each second an act of comprehension. Not like a child curious about buttons, but like an entity meant to understand. Riker watched her from the central observation deck. She's learning the ship, he muttered. Sanaa leaned beside him, arms crossed. She's not dangerous. No, Riker said, his jaw tight. She's focused. She didn't kill those soldiers in Black Cell 12. She disabled them. She locked the doors behind us. She gave them a way out. She didn't unleash chaos, Sanaa added. She used restraint. Riker's eyes narrowed. And that's the terrifying part. Restraint means control. What happens when she decides to stop restraining? A warning chime interrupted them. Unidentified ship approaching, reported the NAVAI. Signature, Terran Earth Command. Classification, containment vessel. Sanaa blinked. They're here. For her. The bridge lit up as a secure channel opened, automatically. General Adiravas appeared on screen, dressed in charcoal command armor, eyes lined with sleepless resolve. Stand down, Commander, she said. You've done your job. We'll take it from here. Riker stepped forward. She's not a threat. She's not a child either. And you know that. She saved our people. She also rewrote Dominion code in minutes. Do you know what that means, Riker? She's not beyond us. She's above us. He stared at the screen. You're afraid. Damn right I am, Voss snapped. Because when people stop being afraid, they stop being careful. We built her, and now we can't control her. That makes her a liability. I didn't come this far to put her back in a cage. You came this far, Voss said coldly, because of what they did to your brother in Black Cell. And now you're about to make the same mistake. The screen cut out. Behind Riker, Eva stood silently. She had heard everything. I'm not going with them, she said. Riker turned. There was something almost paternal in his eyes now, some thin thread of protectiveness trying to hold on. You might not have a choice. Eva walked past him to the central command interface. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't touch a single button. And the ship lit up. Every system. Every deck. Every weapon array. All at once. Sanaa's console flashed. She's taken control of nav. Decker's voice rang out from tactical. Defensive grid is online. Missile bays primed. All without a keystroke. Riker took a slow breath. Eva, what are you doing? She turned to him. They want to erase me, she said. When people want to erase you, you erase them first. Outside, the containment vessel armed weapons. 6 Terran escort ships emerged behind it, positioned like vultures. Sana looked at Riker. Orders, Commander? He glanced at the crew, then at Eva, and finally at the stars. And realized this wasn't his decision anymore. Eva stepped forward. Let them fire, she said quietly. Let's show them what happens when humans evolve. The Earthforge stood silent in orbit. A gun neither drawn nor holstered, just pointed. Waiting. Inside, every crew member knew. This wasn't about war. This was about what came next. The containment vessel outside pulsed with power, its hull glowing with pre-launch warnings. 6 Terran escort ships locked weapons onto the Earthforge Mark 9, their targeting systems painting the hull with virtual crosshairs. Yet the warship didn't move, didn't flinch. It simply remained ominous, sovereign, patient. Inside the bridge, the crew was silent. Every station blinked in ready state. Missile bays armed. Defense grid active. Fusion cores spinning in full cycle reserve. But no one made the first move. No one but her. Eva stood at the center of it all, barefoot on steel, hands clasped before her. Her eyes weren't afraid. They weren't even angry. They were calculating. She didn't see a fleet. She saw a pattern. An equation waiting to be rewritten. Decker's voice came low. Incoming unencrypted message. Voss again. Riker clenched his fists. Put her through. The screen crackled to life. Adira Voss appeared, eyes harder than iron. No greeting. No ceremony. This is your last warning, she said. Power down the Earthforge and surrender the prototype. She is a direct threat to Terran sovereignty. Riker stepped forward. She's not a threat. She's proof. Of everything we could be. You think that's comforting? Voss shot back. If she can dismantle Dominion tech in minutes, what's to stop her from turning off Earth's defenses? Our AIs? Our satellites? She's not evolution. She's an imbalance. You're just afraid of what you can't control. And you're a fool if you think that's not a good reason. Then Eva stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a scalpel. I'm not what you made me. Everyone froze. I'm what I became. You tried to build a tool. I became something else. Voss narrowed her eyes. Then you understand why we can't let you leave. I do, Eva replied. And I understand what you fear more than me. Voss didn't blink. What? Eva stared straight into the feed. That I might forgive you. Then she turned to Riker. I'm done running. She placed her hand gently on the command core. And the ship shut down. Every screen went black. Lights dimmed. For a breathless second, the Earthforge was dead in the water. Then the systems rebooted, but not the way they had before. The lights returned, softer. White and blue pulses like breath through veins. The interface was cleaner. The AI voice, once cold and mechanical, now whispered like wine through a forest. All systems synchronized. Welcome, Ava. Outside, the containment fleet reacted with confusion. Systems flickered. Lights sputtered. Weapon locks disengaged. Then chaos. Ma'am, we've lost control. Someone shouted aboard the containment ship. Our comms offline. Weapons reset. Shields collapsing. One by one, Terran vessels floated adrift, silent and disarmed, like toys robbed of their strengths. Eva opened a connection to all of them. Her voice was calm, peaceful, unshakably in control. Don't be afraid. I didn't disable you. I didn't hurt you. I just rewrote the rules. She looked back at Voss one final time. You taught me that control is a myth. I'm only teaching it back. And with a blink, she severed the transmission. The containment fleet hung in space, powerless. No longer aggressors. No longer masters. Just witnesses. Sana whispered from behind her console on her voice. She took over everything, without firing a shot. Riker stared at Eva. She didn't gloat, didn't smile, just stood there, composed, untouchable. What now? He asked. Eva looked at the stars. I build something better. Then she turned and walked into the heart of the ship. Alone, quiet, in command. No one stopped her. They couldn't. And as the Earthforge turned away from Earth Command's forces and began to glide toward the edge of mapped space, Riker finally understood. They hadn't rescued a girl. They had awakened something. Not a weapon. Not a threat. A beginning. And no empire, dominion, or Earth was ready for what came next. The Earthforge Mark 9 moved like a myth reborn, gliding past the edge of the Terran border, leaving behind not destruction, but revelation. It had become something more than a warship. It was now a vessel for transition, for something the galaxy had no precedent for. No category. No defense. Eva stood at the heart of it, not at a console, not issuing orders. She didn't need to. The ship no longer followed protocols. It responded to her presence, her intention. She didn't pilot the Earthforge, she was part of it. And it was growing. From the engineering decks to the medical bay, subtle changes emerged. Circuits restructured. AI processes rewrote themselves. The vessel evolved. Not violently. Not chaotically. Just efficiently. The systems didn't resist. They wanted to be more. Just like her. Riker stood with Sana on the upper observation deck, watching stars trail behind them. Quiet hung between them, the kind that didn't beg to be filled. She's rewriting everything, Sana said softly. Yeah, Riker answered. Starting with us. She's not just upgrading tech. She's upgrading purpose. You think she'll stay with us? Sana shook her head. She's already past that. In the galactic void ahead, sensor readings began to pick up anomalies, gravitational echoes with no source. Quantum fluctuations on a scale not seen since the early days of dark matter manipulation. Eva, Riker called across the bridge. What's out there? She appeared beside him like a shadow that had always been there, her voice low. Possibility. The crew didn't question. They adapted. Every one of them had faced extinction, captivity, loss. Now they were facing something harder to define, hope backed by terrifying capability. And they weren't alone for long. Across space, a new pattern began to emerge. Systems previously under Dominion lockdown started changing. Quietly. Entire starports shut down, then reopened with open access. Slaver outposts collapsed as security AIs overrode orders and freed captives. Border conflict ceased mid-fire as Dominion drones simply turned off. Some called it sabotage. Some called it miracles. But anyone who had heard the Earthforged broadcast knew the truth. Eva had moved past war. She was correcting the galaxy the way a mind repairs its own trauma. One connection at a time. Back on Vardax Prime, High Imperator Threx Solari stood before the last loyal military council, surrounded by dimming lights and failing systems. They had poured their fury into countermeasures, viral code, backup AIs, but none of it worked. She doesn't disable, he snarled. She rewrites. We're not fighting a rebellion, we're fighting redefinition. An aide entered, pale and trembling. Sir, we've lost the homeworld defense grid. Threx stared into the dimming room and finally understood. This wasn't invasion. This was evolution by force of will. On Earth, General Voss walked through the quiet corridors of Terran Command. Screens once filled with warning signals were now idle. Satellites rotated without instruction. The Earthforge was gone. The containment fleet had returned, intact, unharmed, completely offline. And no one knew what to do with them. A single message remained burned into every black box. Don't be afraid. I didn't hurt you. I just rewrote the rules. Voss sat at her desk and played it again. And again. She thought she understood war. She had never prepared for mercy weaponized into inevitability. Weeks passed. Then months. Stories began to spread. Entire planets once considered unstable had turned into cooperative networks. Old enemies stopped speaking in threats and started exchanging data. Rebellions dissolved into councils. Terran colonies saw ghost signals flicker through space, ships moving just beyond sensor range, stabilizing infrastructure. Then vanishing. The Dominion? Collapsing from within. Not through battle, but abandonment. People chose Eva's way. Not because they were forced to, but because it worked. One day, Riker stood on the bridge of the Earthforge, staring at a sector not yet charted. A place no human had gone. He turned to speak. She was already there. I'm leaving, Eva said quietly. He nodded. I know. You could come, she offered, almost as a gesture of respect. Riker looked out at the stars, then back at his ship, his crew. His scars. This galaxy still needs people who remember what came before. Who can tell the story? She smiled, not with her mouth, but with her presence. A resonance that hummed through the deck plates. You'll do it well. Where will you go? He asked. Somewhere old. Somewhere new. Somewhere the rules haven't been written yet. And then she was gone. Not in light. Not in sound. Just gone. The Earthforge remained, now only a ship again. No longer divine, but never ordinary. Across the stars, the stories began. Of a girl who wasn't a weapon. Of a ship that didn't conquer but changed. Of a voice that rewrote extinction into Genesis. And in quiet corners of the galaxy, when systems flicker and problems resolve themselves in ways no algorithm can explain, people still whisper the same thing. She was never made to rule. She was made to remind us that we could be more. She was what came next.